Hello. Okay, this is going to be a long video message. Basically, I feel it is necessary for me to get out there a little bit about where I'm coming from. So basically, I feel like it's time I compile my testament. So this is going to be a video unlike any of my others, and it will be its only one like it. I don't plan on talking about myself often, but this video is basically going to be all about me. And basically, kind of not only give a little history of who I am and where I come from, but also um, provide as a testament to God's great graces and how I finally drew up to the conclusion that Jesus Christ is our Lord and Savior. So besides, obviously, anybody's entitled to their opinion. I don't even know what I'm going to say next. This is going to be the hardest video I've ever made. I already know that. I've already taken like 20 takes already, and I just keep botching it. So hopefully this one will roll through. If not, I will, chop some together if I have to. But let's see. I'm going to start with basically the beginning. By beginning, I mean since my childhood. So I don't know if at all you're interested. If not, totally. I don't have any problems with anybody tuning out on this one. But I do think that maybe it can help somebody kind of realize, hey, there are obvious markings in life, and they are provided throughout the years, and I think it's our responsibility as adults to form those points into a clearer picture. And that's basically where I'm at in this stage of life. I am just turned 35 a couple months ago. So it has taken me a long time to get to this point, but I believe it was all in God's time. So and actually through that is one of the things I'm trying to hope to get across through this story, is how God was always with me. And basically, even before I knew him, he always knew me. So we'll start with, I did write some notes and some outlines. Basically, a lot of the seeds that were planted along the way, I'm going to basically kind of highlight. And obviously, I'm sure there's some things I might miss, but I'm just trying to cover all the bases, because lately I've kind of been running up against people judging me as not only crazy, but ignorant. And, it's by these people that have known me since I've been a kid, and they've known a lot of the things more from an outside view, but and not even just the people that know me, but people I grew up with are doing these same things. So I'm just gonna I've kind of put together some basically a timeline, and I'm going to kind of go through it. So I'm so sorry, it's gonna take forever. I already know it will. Basically, I grew up in a large home with a large family. Now, I'm not going to just go right on to say, okay, this is a haunted house I grew up in, but this was a haunted house I grew up in. I'm not going to really get too deep into the mystical. I'm not even going to get into, the ghost stories, because there's really does not have any weight on my story, besides the fact that I did grow up having some awareness of there being a spiritual, force around us, whether it be good or evil. And actually, I've had a lot of experience with both. So yeah, from a young age, I will call it spiritual attacks, not only on myself, but a lot of my siblings. We, growing up as a kid, you always have like your little bickerments with your siblings and stuff like that. But there was times where there were things pulled out of me in words, things I've said that a little girl shouldn't be saying. And honestly, I definitely think that there was, a little bit of a demonic force that would try to pull out hate from us. Not just me, but other siblings and parents. So anyways, like I said, I don't want to get too deep into that. But basically, I grew up from a very young age, not unaware of spiritual interactions. Um, I did receive a lot of spiritual guidance, actually, from many respected, I'll call them elders, but a lot of my aunts and my dad and grandparents. I had a lot of not just beliefs instilled into me, but also I don't want to say straight out religious knowledge, but spiritual knowledge. I was trained on how to defend myself from, being attacked by these dark forces. My family's probably gonna kill me for putting this video out, but I don't even care anymore. It's not about me anymore. It's about trying to let people know that this stuff isn't fake that I'm posting about. I'm not crazy, but I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinions, so believe what you want. I was also born and baptized into the Catholic religion. I did go through some private schooling through different sections of my life. But especially when I was younger, I was, pretty much brought up Catholic. Obviously, no kid really wants to go sit at church. So, I mean, of course, I pulled away from that at a young age. But I did have a mother raising me in some of those beliefs. She didn't ever force anything on us, but I mean, part of her environment was the Catholic beliefs. So, of course, those got passed down to me, whether I held on to them or not. So I was exposed to religious beliefs as a young child, but it was really never that prominent in my home. So I keep looking down because I'm checking my notes because I had to write like where I was going to go with this. Otherwise, I'd be all over the place, which I still feel like I am. Basically, I was raised by a village, and that village was spiritual, and they prepared me not only for the physical things on earth, but also things that could hurt my soul, my spirit, anything like that. So this stuff was ingrained from a young age, but I never talked about it. I never told anybody about it. This is my first time ever actually speaking about my personal experiences with these things, especially in a public manner. So I'm putting myself out there like I've been doing, but apparently some people want to discredit me. So I feel it's important to explain what I went through before I even come to my conclusion. So here, I'll continue. My dad, very influential in my life, basically didn't raise me but trained me is what he always used to say. But it's true. He instilled so much more than any person I know could ever put in anybody. I mean, this is like not just physical things, but mental things, mainly mental things. My dad trained my brain from a young age. He also always would not enforce, but encourage me, and I believe his other kids, but I can only go off of my interactions with my dad. He did always encourage me to ask questions, and then ask questions to the answers of those questions. So, I mean, I was encouraged to be open-minded and free-thinking and to seek the knowledge that won't be given to me from any formal education or, even, workforce, just, out of the general public. I won't get these things from them. And that's what parents are for, to teach us the things that matter and that we need to know to be functioning adults, and not just functioning, but good human beings. So, I mean, that's not all just naturally, ingrained. Although from my remembering, I was a sweet kid, a good kid, an obedient daughter. I did not upset anybody. I was very pleasant. And from time to time, yeah, I would fight with my siblings, of course, and say very hurtful things, sometimes borderline evil things. But like I said, I feel like our whole family was under a torment for forever, basically, still to this day. Um, anyways, so I did just that. I questioned everything. I still question everything. And, I have settled on some beliefs and I've settled on some opinions. I did not settle on anything concrete, especially religiously speaking, well, spiritually speaking, because I don't want to say I'm not religious. I'm tired of telling people I'm not religious. But anyway, spiritually speaking, I definitely not only grew up fast, but I basically was aware that what I did and said mattered. And I took great responsibility into not being a hurtful person. I did not treat anybody unkind. Of course, like anybody else, I do defend myself and I do, speak up for myself and stand up for myself. And sometimes that looks like I'm being hurtful. But really, the thing is everybody, it's like that saying, I've said it before, but everybody, likes your opinion until your opinion doesn't agree with theirs, and then they think you're being evil. So it's just, it's one of those things I'm just trying to deal with, is interacting with everybody around me. And that was one of the ways I did it for many, many years. I'd say probably 30 years of my life. I did not rock boats. I did not speak up. I was respectful. Just pleasant. I've never had problems making friends. And that's just one of the things, is that I was quiet. I was, to myself in my head. The whole time since I can remember, I was in my head trying to figure things out. Now, I'm not trying to say that means I know more than anybody, but it does show that I was thinking about these things long before I came to any conclusions. It's in my blood. So, with a large family comes large problems. I had many siblings above me in age, and, they all went through their trials and tribulations like any teen does, or any kid even. I luckily had the advantage to learn from their mistakes than to make my own. I will not say they were the best example for me, but I did recently learn that a wise man doesn't learn from his own mistakes, he learns from somebody else's. And I acknowledged that fact years ago, that that's basically what I did. I avoided the pitfalls that I've seen others fall into, not just my siblings, anybody around me, So at a pretty young age, I did have a lot of fears of going to hell. I didn't know exactly what it was. I didn't know much about Jesus and all this and that. I mean, I know who Jesus was, but I didn't understand anything about being saved. I didn't even get what happened on the cross and why it happened and what it meant. So, I mean, there's a lot I didn't understand, but I knew there was a lot to be learned. Basically, yeah, I grew up in a home that spirituality was no secret. Religion wasn't even really a secret. I just never had my, I remember where I was going with it. I just never have had any beliefs that were grounded at that point. But what kid does? So, basically I was fearful of hell. I was fearful that I was not being the obedient daughter that I should be to God. I know I was doing what I should have been on this earth and treating people how I should have on this earth, but I know there was higher expectations put on us, not just through the Ten Commandments, but through just being a good human being. And I know most of the things that I feared were things that did not impact anybody else and were my own transgressions. And basically, I knew it was very personal, and that's why I did have that fear, because on the outside, I was an angel. On the inside, I knew some of the thoughts that I was thinking. I knew that, I was doing some things that I shouldn't have been doing, and at a very young age at that, too. So, yeah, I grew up doing things that a lot of kids weren't doing at junior high level and things like that. And not even junior high level, basically right out of grade school. The summer of grade school, I was running around like a little heathen. So, and, you know, luckily that burned out eventually in my college years. But anyways, it was all part of who I am today. So I have no regrets. And when I say heathen, I was a sweet heathen. I'm not even lying about that. So basically, I was the fifth kid in a family of, there were 7 of us. I do have a brother who grew up in California away from us. So unfortunately, he didn't get to have any of the joys of our beautiful upbringing. So I will leave him out of these comments. He did not have, he would visit when we were younger, but there wasn't a major influence or example that I got from him because of the distance and, you know, not being raised with him. So there's technically 8 kids. I am going to count 7 though. I was the 5th youngest out of the 7. Big family, and not very many great examples were led for me. I had to actually kind of break free from their trend and blaze my own trail, which I actually did. I was the first to graduate high school. Not a big feat, not a big accomplishment. I'm not trying to say I deserve a pat on the back or anything. But for anybody that knows me during my high school years, they might understand that, like, I wasn't a great student. I didn't try. I just showed up. You know, as long as I passed, I did not care about my grade point average, anything like that, because I won't lie. I could not stand school. I could not stand being cattled around like that, being forced to think the way they wanted. Anyways, and at that time, I didn't even know that's what it was. I just thought I'd rather be out running around like most kids do. I don't know. Anyways, to this day, I am still the only one that has not only received an associate's, I also received my bachelor's. So I went through 5, I mean, technically it should have been 4 years of school, but because I was still just like a no push, just let's get through school because that's what we're supposed to do kind of girl, I did take 5 years to get my bachelor's. So not a big deal. And also there was some fear of leaving the college nest, I guess, if that's even such a thing, and going out into the real world, because honestly, I had a great time in college. So anyways, so yeah, I've been raised to believe, not even to believe, I've been raised to be life examining and processing. And when I say raised, I mean all the way up, even then through my college years. I've always had a tribe of beautiful aunts, and my grandma was one of amongst that tribe that would teach me how to be a woman, teach me how to get what I want out of life, just to be a good person, you know? So, I mean, I definitely was not closed-minded ever. So, and I mentioned my Catholic upbringing already, which around the time of, I don't know, even before college maybe, I really was starting to doubt the Catholic religion at that time, but obviously later in life I kind of doubted a lot of the religions, like all of them. But anyways, but I was also doubting, I had by this point in life learned more about Jesus and what things meant. I wasn't deeply examining into much in my high school years, but I would think about things. You know, I wouldn't actually do the physical research. So, age 18, after blowing a semester at the community college and running around like a little heathen still, I went ahead and went to college. Oh wow, we're at 20 minutes already. Sorry, guys. Went to college, and I I'm so distracted now because I looked at the time. I'll try to clip this where I can. We'll see if we can make it shorter than that. But anyways, I'm still going. Left for college around 18 after I wasted a whole semester at the community college. I did end up getting one class credit out of, well, it's like 3 credits. But anyways, speech class is the only class I actually got any credits from. Obviously, I have a natural ability to talk to whoever. So obviously that wasn't a hard class for me to pass. But surprisingly, I even passed that because it was a waste of my time to even step foot into the community college. And that was in my hometown. Before I turned 19 in 2002, I had went to Springfield, here where I live now. My dad's sister took me in her home for the summer and basically told me, you're going to college. At that point when I moved because I was mad. I felt like I was at the end of the road with my family and nothing was happening for me because, I was just kind of in that slump. I needed to grow up and get out. I thought I was just going to get out and go live in Springfield, stay with my aunt until I got a job and can, afford my own place. She already had it on her mind, no, I'm going to college. So she sent me to the private Catholic school that her and one of my other aunts had graduated from at that time it was a 2-year school. So they only had their associates from there. But by the time I got there, it had transitioned into a 4-year school. So I went to this college, had the time of my life, met one of my best friends from day one. And this best friend is my friend Kayla. She basically, she's definitely one of those people that God puts in, crosses our paths for a reason. We were best friends all the way through college and actually learned a lot from each other and experienced a lot with each other. Kayla was around the time when I feel like any spiritual attacks I've ever had on myself was at its peak in my college years. Kayla was right along with me and actually not only, I wouldn't say she witnessed anything, but she kind of had an idea that things were happening to me and they were kind of weird and some things we couldn't explain. But anyways, it was just a blessing that I had somebody that didn't look at me as a nut. And I even shared some things with Kayla that I've never shared with any friend, because it kind of tied into my upbringing and the things I had been through growing up. And I had to let her know, hey, this is not new for me, but this is kind of a new intensity for me. So through college was, wasn't scary necessarily, but there was many times where I knew I was being tormented. It was one of those phases of my life. I was waking up at 3 a.m. every night. Just, I had a phone call come in and it cut my camera off. Anyways, and now my battery's getting low. I'm horrible. Anyways, okay, so I'm going to keep going. In college was also a major time where I just busted out on making all kinds of new friendships and relationships. Like I said, I've never had a problem attracting friendships. I've always been very open to people, and I think people kind of sense that I'm a good person. I don't know, but people sometimes are just drawn to me. It feels like, especially in my college years. In those years, I did have a friend mention to me the book of Revelation, and was telling me in the sense of, oh my gosh, this stuff is supposed to happen, And I knew of the Bible. I knew of end times. I did not know about actual books in the Bible. I don't know exactly when I started reading the Left Behind series, but that was pre-YouTube. That was back, I guess it still would have been maybe 2002-ish, 2003-ish. For those of you that don't know, Left Behind is a sci-fi, fictional, whatever, story. I think it might be a science fiction. But anyways, it's a fictional story that plays out the Book of Revelations, and that includes the rapture. So that's what the title is. It's a 12-book series. It's intense, but I love it, and I've actually read it many times, and we're actually reading it right now. So on audio version now. But anyways, so that was kind of my exposure to what Revelations was getting at. Around that time in my college years, my grandmother, who lived in Springfield, she would have me over on occasion and have discussions with me. Especially near the end of my college experience, she would have me over and keep me over. And basically, she had told me, I need to give you all the information I can before it's too late or I'm gone, you know, that type of thing. She actually gave me one of her own Bibles, which honestly is the only Bible I've ever really used, and I have to this day. She never exactly like would, we went at Bible study. My grandma would basically just tell me to use the Bible, read it, know it. And then she would give me her opinions on some of the things at the current time. And now this was what, over 10 years ago, where things weren't even as crazy as they are now. It was a little more innocent back then. But my grandma, even at that time, that's the reason I probably won't ever have kids. Even back then, she's the one that put it in my head that we are at the end of our days. And it makes no sense for anybody to bring a child into this world with the state of affairs. And like I said, 10 years ago, it wasn't even as bad as it is now. So there's probably a good chance I will not ever purposely have a child, because I do believe that we are in the end days. And I don't feel like this is an environment that's going to have a healthy future for any of our kids. So not to say anybody shouldn't have kids. I mean, obviously it's not for me. I would never tell anybody not to have a child. Anyways. Alrighty, here we go. So grandma soon after had a stroke after she actually unloaded quite a bit of information on me. And not even just information, just discussions about being a good person, what I need to do with my life to make it worthwhile, to do good, and more good than harm. So grandma had her stroke. Grandma is still alive with us today, thank God. But grandma did lose a lot of her cognitive abilities, which it does feel like in a way grandma's gone, but I know she's not. And even if she is physically gone and mentally gone, I do always carry her spirit with me regardless. And it's funny because her last card I received from her when she was still, you know, in her full capacity. It was a graduation card. It was right before my graduation. And she had mentioned, and I could dig it out, I'm sure, but the one peek that I pulled from it was, I did have a feeling grandma knew she was going to be leaving us in her mind form that she had. My grandma was sharp as a tack. I am not even going to play. Anybody knows. But anyways, I think she knew she was going to be going in some form or another. And in this card, my graduation card, she wasn't able to make my graduation. And then again, this is probably why she said it, but she did mention something about always being with me in spirit. So, so that was kind of, that happened right before I had graduated college. And it was pretty hard to, oh my gosh. Okay, I'm not going to cry. It was pretty hard to digest and accept that was happening, and that had happened to my grandma. Soon after her stroke, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm crying. Okay, and honestly, before I even get on to these hard things that kind of set me back, I mean, I don't even know if they necessarily set me back. I think they might have shined a little light on things that needed to be shined on, you know, life in general and how it can be changed in a heartbeat, you know? Anyways, so before anything happened with my grandma, and like I said, it was like the last year of my college years. It was like 2007, shortly before graduation. I had been suffering. I was a psychology major, and I had taken many, many psychology classes. And I had this one particular teacher a couple times for a different couple classes, and he was identifying burnout. You know, what counselors can go through from hearing everybody's heavy life issues. It's a thing, a mental burnout. And I remember asking that professor, is it possible to get burned out before you even start practicing? And he's like, yeah, it really can be. He explained to me how, and honestly, I know this is exactly, you know, I've always been able to attract people and conversations and just good people and good things and stuff. But I also attracted a lot of people's problems. I always felt like people just felt the need to express a lot to me, whether I asked for it or not. And that's fine. I always wanted to be a good friend to any of my friends. I always encourage my friends to talk to me if they want to. But I did have some people through those years, even friends included, and family mainly, that had I just burped, that had put a lot of their problems on me. And I've always been a worry body, but especially about my siblings, who I love deeply. But just hearing and knowing about a lot of their problems was sometimes taxing. So, anyways, I felt like I was burning the fuck out. I'm sorry about my language, but I was burning out before I even left college. I was starting to get faced with that. I feel like I was starting some signs of anxiety, depression. But I think those are just symptoms of the stress I put on my own life and allowed in my life. So, okay. So I'm burning out, and my that psychology professor I had mentioned before, he did tell me, yeah, it's a real thing. Some people do just have you know, counselor written on their forehead, and people just come to them and expect them to sort out their problems, even if it is just a sounding board type of situation, which many of my situations were. But anyways, I was burning out. I was scared to leave college. I did not know where I was going to go. I was scared to go back home. Anyways, I was with Justin. I did meet Justin a couple years before I ended college, and we did start dating at the end of my college years. I believe by the time Grandma had her stroke, which was shortly before graduation, Justin and I did have an apartment together, but I still was on the dorms because I was a resident assistant. So, yeah, it was a hard, weird time. And then, this is what I'm trying to avoid talk about. Shortly after graduation, our family took a huge hit. Grandma was in a stroke condition, not in her full right mind that we were familiar with. She had taken a lot of damage to her brain. And then Uncle Bill passed away. I don't want to go too deep into Uncle Bill because it's not my story to talk about Uncle Bill. But he was part of that village that helped raise me and for me. Beautiful man. Any of our family know. Okay. His passing, still to this day, very hard. Gosh, I don't want to cry. Okay. Oh, but that sent me into... And I've had people pass, not super close to me, but I would say that Uncle Bill was the closest passing. Uncle Bill is not only my mentor and role model, he was my Uncle Bill. He was awesome. He was everything. He was like a second father to me. So, okay, Uncle Bill passes. All right, I don't want to talk about it anymore because then maybe I'll just stop. Turn up. Uncle Bill passed. Anxiety hit me hard. As hard as it could ever hit anybody, I would say. And it's funny because sorry, I'm like rubbing my eyes on the camera. Usually I feel like when people are hit with anxiety, it's definitely a factor of stress and fear and all kinds of things. But my anxiety was, and it might be comparable to others, my anxiety, which honestly I did have a lot of symptoms of anxiety long before, not long, but maybe a year or so, maybe a year or two before Uncle Bill had passed. But that had put me in a fearful mode of mortality. Uncle Bill was always very healthy. Unfortunately, he did lose his life battling cancer. So, fuck cancer. Anyways, so it really got into my head, and after a couple other people have had health issues, it really got in my head that all my wild upbringing and my running around and partying and smoking and just everything I had been doing to my body, I was basically, I think it got seeded into my head that if Uncle Bill, who is as healthy as can be, loses his life to a disease, what kind of diseases are growing in me? I felt like I had destroyed my body to the point of no return, not just with the things I fed myself, but from the weight that I had gained and collected. And it's funny because as you get older, you get body pains and aches and stuff anyways. So around this time, I'm starting to get aches and stuff in places I never had before. So my anxiety was basically completely fueled off of fear of something's wrong with me. I always thought things were wrong with my body. It got to the point where I massively pulled away from family, friends. It was intense. I damaged some relationships, friendships during that time, especially with Kayla during that time, because I completely pulled away, and obviously people didn't know what I was necessarily going through myself. So they felt like maybe it was something I felt they had done. Like I was not seeing people because of them. Totally not the case though. So I retreated into my home and interacted with Justin only. There was really nobody else in my life that was a main factor. Not even a factor, just there. I just really avoided people because I was so scared of my own head. I always thought I was dying. I had many trips, I'd say 5-year span, 2007 till about 2012, is basically where I was a prisoner to anxiety. I took many trips to the ER, thinking I was having a heart attack, worried about, blood clots. Basically anything that I knew somebody died from, it would, or at least nearly died from, it would pop in my head like, maybe this is happening to me. So it was all totally in my head. I struggled with it for years. A lot of my friends and family know about that struggle. I don't know if they understand what it was exactly that was scaring me so bad. But that was basically it, just a fear of dying. And I'm thankful to say that now, honestly, that fear is gone. So the anxiety, that's in the past. So during that anxiety phase, the 5 years of my life, about 2010, I started using YouTube. I had never really got on there, and I don't even know if it might have been like 2011. I'm not positive. But anyways, I would have discussions with friends online about some topics, and that's how I discovered YouTube is fantastic to go do some research and see what other people have dug up. I did start by searching more along the biblical sense of things, spiritual content, religious content, evil and good, God and the devil, God and Satan, just whatever, heaven, earth, things like that, that maybe could help me with my own personal life. Like I said, I was talking about these things with friends, especially like the attacks and stuff, because I started learning that some of the things that I had experienced and some of the things that my siblings have experienced are not unusual things that other people have experienced too. So, I mean, I started realizing there's something that's common that's going on, fairly common. I shouldn't say common. But there's things that have been going on that need to be looked into and addressed. And through my college years, I feel like I wasn't looking into things in the right head, in my right mind. I was kind of falling off into more of the witchy aspect of things, thinking I was going to dig in to see what kind of abilities I had, which my intuition to this day is still very strong, and it was really strong back then too. So pretty much to the point where, and I hate to even say it, but I mean, I don't care what anybody thinks at this point anymore, but I was pretty much seeing things that were not visible to me, not just seeing things, but I don't want to even say I had psychic abilities, but that's the only thing I can describe it as, psychic abilities. So yeah, peaked in college. Definitely had experiences with that. But yeah, we'll just call it intuition because, you know, that's really what it is. And we all have got it. And everybody has, to a certain degree, a level of psychic abilities. So, I mean, I'm not going to be ashamed to say that. So about 2012, I started kind of looking more into like new age ideas and ascension and all these things. And that was before, actually, it was 2011 because I remember preparing for the pole shift and all that great world ending stuff in 2012, which I do feel like there was a shift for sure back in 2012. So anyways, look up Mandela effect if you don't believe me. So basically, 2012, that was a busy year. That year actually though pulled me out of that funk. It took a little while. I'd say by the end of 2012, I was well on my way to gaining not only strength, but wisdom. So my friend Sue's had a wedding. I was a bridesmaid for the first time, so excited. I had a fall at her wedding. I scraped up my leg pretty bad, my knee pretty bad. And I did get worried about it while I was healing, but it was fine. Soon after that trip, trip, literally, back home in Springfield, I had and this is back when I was smoking. I had a panic attack that led me to prompt care, which at prompt care, my heart rate was up. And I was going more so because I was having chest issues. And it turned out to be bronchitis, but I mean, which I had bouts of bronchitis often. But I went there thinking it was bronchitis. And then when they hooked me up and saw that my heart rate was elevated, I don't know where my blood pressure was. I think that might have been elevated at the time too. And the symptoms I was explaining to them, they were concerned it was an embolism, pulmonary embolism, possibly. So they urged me to go. They were not going to see me there anymore. They told me to go to the ER. I went to the ER. It's so funny because I actually, I think helps save my mind, my mental capacity, I guess. So I went to the ER. They ran some tests. What was it, the MRI or whatever, and saw that I was good to go. So anyways, that scare basically led me to quit smoking. I quit smoking weed. I quit smoking cigarettes. Everything. So, and you know what? And I was still battling with anxiety for years after quitting. So, but anyways, I quit those things and picked up a lot of books on self-help with anxiety. Part of my anxiety issues were, oh, my doctor had fun with me because I would like go in there with a list of things. But anyways, and not just saying, oh, this is bad, this is bad. I would have her confirm with me, should I be worried about this or that? Anyways, she knew that I did not, part of my anxiety was fearful of side effects and what I was putting into my body. She knew that I did not want to be put on medication of any sort. She did give me the option if I would like to go on medicine for my anxiety. She would gladly write me one up. But she also understood that it was part of my anxiety to take medicine. So I learned to deal with it, and without taking medicine. And definitely water and breathing were like my life savior for like so many times. So anyways, so I quit smoking weed and cigarettes for 5 years. During that time, I was YouTubing more Illuminati type content, entertainment, industry, satanic influences within mass media, and politics, and anything, which the Illuminati by itself, basically all that stuff. I fell into this that YouTube rabbit hole that people talk about. I think one of my early stories I was looking up was that kind of just made me kind of want to keep looking into other things. Was soon after Amy Winehouse's death and basically all the controversy and appearing to be sacrificial type of I don't know, atmosphere around her death. Anyways, so that was just, I only bring that up because this is the stuff that led me to believe Jesus Christ is our Savior. So, and that's why I'm like, so sorry, it's like a 5-hour long video. But anyways, I was in that rabbit hole and I still am in that rabbit hole. I mean, I have no shame about it. There is so much on YouTube that I feel, and it's so crazy because I've been pretty much a fan of YouTube and using it as a kind of encyclopedia kind of thing. And also just to hear discussions and opinions of other people. There was many opinions I took and just threw right out the window because, I mean, there is a discernment that has got to be applied when you're getting information from anybody. You can't just believe everything everybody tells you. And I think people are under the false impression that just because I do use a lot of internet resources, which why wouldn't you? Because this is bigger than any encyclopedia set ever. I mean, it's going to have everything on there, the good and the bad, the truth and the false. So, I mean, I trust my brain to decipher between what seems logical and what is not even worth time to dive into. So I was in that rabbit hole, and I still am, like I said. Back in 2017, just last year, shortly before my wedding, I started smoking again. I'm not proud that I am, but I am proud to say that it was a fear that the anxiety would come back if I started smoking again. It kind of did a little bit in the beginning, because I really felt like smoking was a big part of my fear of my health and everything, and which tied into the anxiety. So, not proud to say that the anxiety did not come back to kick my ass after I started smoking again, but I am proud to say that it's mind over matter, and I basically won that battle with my own mind. So, November 2017, I got married to Justin. We were together for a pretty much solid 10 years before we actually got married. Even at the wedding day, there was some hate that was manifested. bridges were burnt on that side. And then it was also the starting of, I feel like, other burning bridges. Soon after the wedding, after all these things came out against this one person that basically displayed multiple ranges of hate towards me mainly, I was very ready to cut that source of hate out of our lives. Unfortunately, it was one of Justin's friends, so I could not exactly tell him, you can't see him anymore, you can't talk to him, but I did tell him to keep him out of my awareness. I don't want to have this person in my awareness whatsoever. Down the road, that friend ended up breaking it up with Justin, like Justin had ever done anything wrong to him, and accused me of being a control freak. So, whatever. So glad that bridge got burnt between him and Justin, because it's Justin's better off for it, and he knows it. Anyways, so, but I kind of feel like that experience put me at a different level with dealing with people, period. It kind of got to the point where I knew that that guy didn't like me. I knew he didn't respect me. I didn't want him in my wedding in the first place. But I was kind of hoping that the wedding could be a way to be like, hey, let's get past any feelings that we've had about each other before. Me and Justin were officially married. I was very set on just everybody feeling the love, having a great time. At the wedding, though, there was a few examples that kind of, I'm not trying to say anybody else was hating on me, but I did kind of notice who was there for me and who wasn't, you know? And I'm sure any wedding kind of plays into that. Oh, my thing's dying. You get those people who play the role that they're happy for you, but there's still, you know, resentments and jealousies and hard feelings, regardless if they were earned or not. So anyways, we started kind of noticing, not even me. I mean, I think about these things. Justin doesn't really. I started kind of noticing who was really there for me. Coming up on a year later, I started to go through like an awakening process, I'd say. After separating ties with the guy who tried to ruin my wedding, he was our best man, by the way, too. So it's like, seriously, why would he even take the position? Anyway, so I kind of got a, not a boldness, but some type of strength to say, we got to push away negative influences, toxic people. It kind of was just, because after he had left, I had felt like a lot of things were calm and just better. But of course, coming from a big family, I always, you know, I still tried to keep contact with my siblings and my parents, and, you know, would still have interactions with them. Unfortunately, most of those interactions were not very positive and pleasant. So, anyways, because, you know, they have their own problems. And for some reason, they used to like to think I would judge them, which was always so maddening, because I never would I would tiptoe basically around any of my siblings, because I didn't like being yelled at. And usually, if I did, you know, let something slip out, or I did respond in a way that didn't align perfectly with them, they would snap on me. And I mean, it's just something I dealt with since I've been a kid. You know, I've always tiptoed around most of my older siblings. So anyways, I was ready to get rid of stress any way possible after this wedding. I did not see that there were things that were keeping me so upset in life. One of the main things was my work life. It was hyper stressful and just unappreciative. And like, there was no, you know, just so many things. And it wasn't even just my last job. It was every job as an adult I've had. They suck the life out of you. That's what they do. So the plan was, I was going to wait till the end of 2018 to finish out my career at, I was at Senior Services. I was working. With the, and you know, doing a very respectable job. I kind of forgot where I was going with this. Anyways, I was doing a respectable job. Wasn't about the money for me. I knew I just had to work because everybody else has to work. But anyways, the goal was to pay off as much of the wedding that Justin and I had recently had. And then I would finish out the year and then become a housewife. So basically, I got to the point where I did kind of suffer a mental breakdown. I was telling many people I was going through a breakdown. I knew I was going through a breakdown. I knew I was done. So we didn't wait. I felt like God had put it on my heart, and I didn't know this at the time, but I looked back and realized that the night I typed up my resignation letter, but I didn't date it because I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, but I'm not ready yet. So I typed up my letter that night, and I wasn't going to send it in. And it's funny because I believe it was like, I don't know. Anyways, so, and then I think I had got a text. Yeah, that's what happened. I had got a text from my boss responding to a text where I needed to call in. And this is the night after I wrote my letter, my resignation letter. But I told her I'm suffering I'm suffering burnout. I cannot come into work today. Her response was something along the lines of, "Oh, well, that's too bad. I hope you feel better, but we could have really used you today." That put it in my mind that no, they don't give a fuck about me. So that alone was like, I'll, let money be tight for a while. I will risk my finances to get as far away as fast as possible from a place that is basically causing my breakdown. I mean, not just burnout, but that breakdown was carrying over to my personal life. I was a mess, and I was physically getting sick, I never got an ulcer, but I really felt like I was building up on one. I was having stomach pains and just all kinds of issues that went away from like day one of housewife status. Anyways, so as a housewife, I was doing all kinds of things. I posted some videos on it. I expressed my feelings on things. And along this whole time, I still had my bringing up and my ideas of religion and Christianity and faith and things like that. And I had read the Left Behind series many times. I knew what it meant to be saved. I knew what I was supposed to do to be saved. But I never had built on my relationship with Jesus, God, anything. I was not building a relationship with God. I had him in my life, but I did not talk to him. I did not, yeah, of course I would say an occasional prayer, but I did not make it an everyday thing. July 8th, 2018. I had to go to my Facebook and kind of get the timeline on this. But I had, that's when I started posting about Jesus. I would say soon before that is when I thought I had the date where I had my little awakening. I think I basically had my awakening, and I did write it down. I think it was May 11th, 2018. Soon after my resignation, I resigned. I wonder if I'm missing parts. I resigned my job. I think my last day was, yeah, it must have been April 28th, I think. I'm horrible with dates. I'm horrible with keeping track of time, period. I'm just reading because I feel like I missed a page, but maybe I didn't. Okay, anyways, and I know this is like 5 hours long. I'm so sorry. Anyways, you'll be okay. If you love me, you'll watch it. So, I'm being a bitch. And I'm sure a lot of people won't watch this, especially in my family that probably should be hearing me out. Anyways, so yeah. I built on many, many years of basically doing my own independent research, gathering what other people have thought, just learning from life's examples, things like that. July 8th, 2018, I stumbled upon I think it might have been a little bit before that, but like days before that, I stumbled upon one of my favorite YouTubers. She was trying to start up a movement for Jesus. Great idea, but I don't think it's taken off, and I don't know if it will. But I tried to jump on that bandwagon and basically was trying to put hashtag Jesus on my posts. And before that, I really wasn't really sharing much Christian-based posts. It was more kind of like, and and I was getting, ever since like May 11th, I would say I was really getting intense on what ever since I became a housewife, I was really getting more and more into putting things out there that I had been, that I spent much time uncovering for myself. So, and I knew it was going to look crazy, but I also held back on a lot of the things that I discussed. But now it's getting to the point where it's all coming out. I don't care what anybody thinks. I mean, think I'm crazy or think I'm not. At least I did my due diligence in trying to explain how I think it really is. And obviously it's my opinion, but anyways, so hashtag Jesus doesn't, I still do it every now and then, but I haven't really used it in a while. But anyways, the post was basically, the hashtag Jesus was basically encouraging to make Jesus trendy again. I love that idea. I thought that was awesome. I still do think that's awesome. I still think it's important that we praise Jesus constantly in our social media presence, lives, everything. So that's where I kind of started getting a little more Christian with my posts. And I think people started recognizing and realizing nobody really gave me any hate for it. And nobody still has given me hate for my, I can't even say that. Because a lot of people like to say, oh, but religion this, religion that. And I mean, it gets to the point where I don't feel it's my responsibility to teach people these things that I had to go out and search for myself. You know, the tools are out there. The internet is the worldwide information at our fingertips. There is no sense in people not understanding what the Bible is, that it's protected, that it's God's word for us, and that we should live by it. Now, I'm all for everybody having their own beliefs, but I can't fathom to understand why people have these hardcore beliefs that they haven't even looked another side from. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't even, you know, they're only looking at one angle, you know, what they've been told, or at least maybe even what they found along the way. But you got to be objective in any of these things, even when it comes to religious beliefs and, you know, Christianity and things like that. There was a time where it ran through my mind, is Jesus possibly, I wouldn't say the Antichrist, but I kind of wondered if that was the deception, you know, this great deception, is that it, you know? I am ashamed to even say it, but God knows that I was, you know, like any other sinner, and I was doubtful in many of the things that he had been sharing with me. And that's part of the problem is that doubt comes from everybody else's opinions. So, and you know what? I think I took some opinions as truth. Not even opinions, but I took some false information as truth through the years. And I'm not ashamed to say when I have and when I'm wrong. I mean, I try not to be wrong. I try to leave the facts to facts and my opinions to opinions. I'm not trying to say my opinions are fact. So, anyways, July 30th, 2018, somebody threw me into the hashtag walkaway movement. They saw that I was starting to kind of be like, hey, these things aren't like what they're telling us. I started posting a little bit more conservatively. I got thrown in that movement. I ended up my only post I put in there ended up getting shared by, I think it was 180 shares, a couple of thousand. I don't think it made it to 3,000, but a couple of thousand reactions. a couple hundred, maybe a few hundred actual comments. All the comments were positive. The only comment that I found that was like at all not positive was one where this girl said, I don't agree with you, but I respect you for standing up for what you believe. Something along those lines. I can't remember exactly the exact verbiage. But anyways, it was all positive. And the whole thing that led me to the walkaway movement was a YouTube video from one of my favorite YouTubers, and she actually was covering the walkaway movement, and she actually did kind of tie it in with her. It's the one that had the #Jesus movement she was trying to get going. She did basically say, hey, this is where the tides can turn. This is the movement. Now, the walkaway movement is more political, and I get that, but I went in there with more of a anti-beast system type of view, basically saying there's wickedness throughout the and I'm not going to say liberals, because I did learn that there is a difference between liberals and leftists, but it's the leftists that I had walked away from. And honestly, I had never been part of the right, so I didn't walk away from them. I just walked straight to the middle. Completely conservative in the way of God's view on us, not conservative in a political view, conservative in the way that I'm going to follow the laws of the Bible. That is my conservative platform. That is where I'm at. So I like to say I walked away from politics, period. Which that pretty much went down years ago. Anyways, so I went through all these years of collecting information, throwing out some information, absorbing some of the information, and I had anyways. Oh, I did have this written out. It didn't look like bullets, though. It's like a whole paragraph. I had said something about, since my awakening on May 11th, 2018, I've been making connections to every viable information I've dug up. Those connected dots drew a clearer picture of the world around me. Not clearer picture, because obviously none of it's clear to any of us. Picture to the world around me, what is seen and unseen. This is the part that I thought I missed something on, but yeah, I completely skipped it altogether. My faith in God was fully restored, and I ran back to Jesus to beg for forgiveness of the years of doubt. So, yeah, most of these things were bullets. That was like actually written out, but I must have wanted to express that. So, anyways, yeah, my faith in God has been fully restored. It all clicks. It all makes sense. All my conspiracy theory, like hunting and truth-seeking hunting, and everything supports the Bible. The Bible supports it. It makes sense. That's basically just like my awakening moment. I'm like, this is it. I already had the foundation to be saved, born again Christian, and to remain, in his good graces. But I had not encouraged a relationship with God. That's where it finally clicked. Soon after July 30th, when I posted that walkaway post, I feel like that was it for me. I'm devoting my life to God. I am turning it over to him, letting go, let God. You know what they say. And that's totally what I've been doing. Even before I did that, my life was turning up because I was building that relationship. I mean, obviously, I'm still human. I'm still going to be liable to be sinful and make mistakes, but I will also be trying to live the best I can and repent from any of those things. So yeah, that's basically what I've been doing with my Facebook lately. Just really putting it out there, trying to not only testify for God, but, kind of, because there's a lot of people, we need to get over the brainwashed hurdle before we get over to the spiritual hurdle. So many people don't even know the basic things that are actually happening around us and how they impact us as a human species, and not even just as humans, but as just good people. It's the decay is scary. So that's why I am going to devote my page to pointing out these things and kind of just trying to shine a light on all this darkness that's been around us. And hopefully, maybe some people will come to that light. So, August 21st, 2018, I put a post out there to family. I had got to the point I was done. I was done being accused of being judgmental, thinking I was better than anybody, thinking that I hate my parents, thinking that I hate anything. There's all kinds of just accusations that were made against me and have been since I've moved away for college. So, I mean, it wasn't anything new, but it got to the point where enough is enough. I called my family out on Facebook, and not their issues, but mine. I asked them specifically, what have I done to offend you? Not in those words, but basically, tell me what I did so we can move past this. Nobody had anything to say about me, but they did actually accuse me of attacking them with that post and things like that. It got pretty hairy. It got nasty. It got, there was a little bit of love sprinkled in there. I tried to form all my opinions. I'm not turning my back on my family, but I definitely had to cut any stress, negativity, anything like that. I'm purging those things from my life. If somebody's going to come at me crazy, I'm not going to even interact with it. It's going to get to the point where I'm totally fine with losing friends and family. And it's not like I'm losing them for good. They're always welcome to come back in my life. But I'm not going to, and I forgive anybody for anything ever anyways, because God told us to, and I totally get why. So it's not like it's anything about harbor and hard feelings. It's about protecting my my sanity and my integrity. I'm not going to be bullied anymore by anybody. And not even bullied, just I think I compared it to being used as a punching bag. And I kind of feel like it's that way because, like I said, I don't feel like I've done anything to deserve anybody's ill treatment. Not just my family, anybody's. I've always treated people how I want to be treated. I've respect people. I love people. So I definitely put that question out there because I knew that there was nothing that could come back at me. And if there was something that came back at me, sure, fine, we'll deal with it. I mean, it's probably, maybe I said something mean. I mean, I'm not perfect. I say sometimes some bitchy things, especially when dealing with siblings. They say horrible things to me too, So anyways, I knew nothing was going to come back at me because I know that they don't have anything on me. And I've been telling them this for a while. I'm like, stop coming at me like I haven't earned the right to speak what I'm speaking. I get, nobody wants their little baby sister to grow up and to like tell them how the facts of life is. I get that. I totally get that. But I would never say anything to hurt them. And for them to take things and twist it into something it wasn't intended to, and to deflect and then to project onto me, that wasn't fair. So I'm done with that from anybody, family, friends. It could be anybody. My own husband, I'm not going to take shit from him either. Luckily, he doesn't give me any. So not much, not in that way, at least. So basically, we're up until now, and I'm still rambling, and this is 36 minutes on just this. So it is going to be a freaking long video. I am going to edit as much as I can. I really just want to give people the fullest picture of me that I could provide in any kind of way. I know there's not really certain examples in here, but I kind of feel like I feel like I owe it to anybody to let them know I'm not just some crazy lady just rambling things off. I really spent years of research and thinking and critical thinking and having discussions and, hearing different sides and changing my opinions. And, it's just the process of learning and educating yourself. I mean, sadly, many people don't do that anymore. They get their schooling from, the corrupted system of what we call education, but it's really not. Anyways, they take what school gives them, and that's what they take. And, There's so many issues in just that alone. I mean, I can make like 20 million videos that are probably all 5 hours long, and, still everything will not be discussed. Point being is, I'm not telling anything to anybody that will hurt them. I'm just trying to speak the truth to the best of my knowledge, and I am trying to be as respectful and loving as possible during that way. But basically, to wrap it up and sum it up is, the truth is, your only hope is Jesus Christ. Run to him, screaming, crying, whatever you got to do. Beg for forgiveness, and basically repent from your sins, and you're in his good graces. And that's all it takes. So, I shouldn't say that's all it takes, because it's hard. It's hard to repent from sin. I mean, I'm struggling with it now to this day. There's a few things that I'm struggling with and I'm asking for his help with. But that's the thing. You got to try. That's all you got to do, is just try and talk to God. Talk to Jesus. I mean, I don't know. Just, I hope everybody finds them. And I know everybody won't. And I know most people won't. But just take this as basically, I don't even know what to take it as. That's it. Just, yep. Keep learning, people. Search for yourself. Educate yourself. I think you do enough of that, you'll see the truth, and it's going to be clear as day. And once you let God take over and you let God run your life and put him first, everything falls into place. And luckily, I mean, I can't even complain. I came from a hard childhood, and I wouldn't doubt it if, because I had God along my side this whole time, things did fall into place for me. I did make good decisions. I did learn from other people's mistakes. I did go out and build a life that I'm very happy with. I've been blessed with many, many more things, talents, life, just everything. The material things even. I mean, that stuff's not my own doing. It's God. He's been with me this whole time and has provided everything I've ever needed. So, yeah, hard times are great. Not great, but hard times may happen and they may come again. And I've been through them before, and I can make it through them again. And I'm talking financial, not so much necessarily. I'm not trying to go through any personal relationship hard times and things like that. So those days are gone. I'm sending evil and negativity onto the curb. So, but yeah, I love you guys. God bless. I am so sorry to keep you so long, but hopefully somebody might be like, hey, that's kind of like my story. Maybe I should start to make these connections and seek for the truth, which is that there's only one way, and it is narrow. It's a narrow way, but there's only one way, and that is through Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. So give your problems and worries to God. He'll gladly take them and make everything better and just awesome. So I love you guys. God bless. And sorry again for taking so long.